It was supposed to be a simple business deal, a partnership that would benefit both sides, a handshake agreement between two industry giants. But behind the scenes, something sinister was brewing. A betrayal so bold, so unexpected, that it ignited a rivalry that would change the gaming world forever. One company was left humiliated. The other? It seized the moment and built an empire. You know, PlayStation is one of the biggest gaming brands today, but what if I told you it wasn't even supposed to exist? That a single act of corporate backstabbing forced Sony into the gaming industry? This isn't just a story about a console, it's a story about revenge, strategy, and how one company took control of an entire industry by outsmarting its competition at every turn. In the early 1990s, Sony and Nintendo seemed like perfect allies. Sony, a leader in electronics, was developing a cutting-edge CD-ROM add-on for Nintendo's Super Nintendo Entertainment System. It was a move that could have revolutionized gaming years ahead of its time. Everything was set to be unveiled at the 1991 Consumer Electronics Show. But then, in a move that stunned the industry, Nintendo did the unthinkable. On the day Sony was set to announce their partnership, Nintendo blindsided them with a shocking revelation. They had made a secret deal with Philips instead. The Sony collaboration was dead. Publicly humiliated, Sony was left with two choices: walk away from gaming forever or strike back. For most companies, this level of betrayal would have been the end of the story. But for Sony, it was just the beginning. With a grudge to settle and cutting-edge technology at their disposal, they decided to do something no one expected. They would create their own console. And they weren't just aiming to compete, they were aiming to dominate. At the time, Sony had zero experience in the gaming business. Industry veterans laughed at the idea of them challenging giants like Nintendo and Sega. Even within Sony itself, many executives doubted the move. The gaming market was ruthless, and the company risked pouring millions into a venture that could easily fail. But one man refused to back down: Ken Kutaragi, the engineer behind Sony's gaming ambitions. He saw the potential of CD-ROM technology, something Nintendo had just thrown away. CDs could hold far more data than cartridges, opening the door for bigger games, full motion video, and immersive sound. He convinced Sony to take the leap, not just as a technological experiment, but as a chance to rewrite the rules of the industry. Sony didn't just enter the gaming market, they came in swinging. Their mission was clear: create a machine that would leave Nintendo and Sega scrambling to catch up, and they had the perfect weapon to do it. When Sony unveiled the PlayStation, it wasn't just another console. It was a statement, a declaration that the gaming industry was about to change forever. The PlayStation's biggest advantage? The switch from cartridges to CDs. While Nintendo and Sega were still using expensive, limited memory cartridges, Sony's PlayStation offered developers more storage at a fraction of the cost. This allowed for cinematic cutscenes, immersive 3D worlds, and high-quality audio, features that would define the future of gaming. But Sony's real masterstroke wasn't just technological, it was strategic. At E3 1995, Sony's head of development took the stage and said just one thing: $299. That was $100 cheaper than Sega's Saturn. With that one move, Sony made its competition look overpriced and out of touch. And just like that, the tides of the industry began to shift. Of course, hardware means nothing without games. Sony understood this better than anyone, and they had a plan to secure a lineup that would leave its competitors in the dust. While Nintendo restricted third-party developers with tight licensing fees and creative limitations, Sony welcomed them with open arms. Developers were given more freedom, better profit margins, and the tools to push gaming to new heights. The result? A wave of legendary exclusives: Final Fantasy VII, Metal Gear Solid, Gran Turismo, and Resident Evil. These weren't just great games, they were system sellers. Sony had created the perfect storm: affordable hardware, cutting-edge technology, and a game library that made the PlayStation a must-have. But there was still one more piece of the puzzle. Nintendo marketed itself as a family-friendly brand, targeting kids and parents. Sony saw an opportunity to go in the opposite direction. Their ads weren't colorful and playful, they were edgy, cinematic, and rebellious. They marketed the PlayStation as the console for serious gamers, appealing to teenagers and adults who wanted something beyond cartoonish platformers. It worked. Sony made gaming feel cool, modern, and most importantly, necessary. Their commercials weren't just selling a product, they were selling an identity. And for millions of gamers around the world, PlayStation became a symbol of something bigger than just entertainment. The results were staggering. The PlayStation didn't just compete with Nintendo and Sega, it obliterated them. The console sold over 100 million units, making it one of the most successful gaming systems of all time. But Sony wasn't done. They followed up with the PlayStation 2, and this time, their dominance was absolute. The PS2 became the best-selling console ever, with over 155 million units sold. By the time their competitors even began to recover, Sony had already cemented itself as the king of gaming. What started as an act of betrayal turned into one of the most remarkable success stories in gaming history. Sony took a devastating loss and transformed it into an empire. And today, the PlayStation brand remains one of the most powerful in the industry, but gaming is an unpredictable battlefield. As technology evolves and new players enter the arena, Sony's dominance is constantly under threat. Could history repeat itself? Could another betrayal shift the balance of power once again? Sony's rise to power wasn't just about technology. It was about strategy, vision, and knowing when to strike. If Nintendo had never betrayed them, would the PlayStation even exist? Maybe. Maybe not. But one thing is clear. The gaming industry was never the same after Sony entered the fight. And as the next generation of gaming unfolds, one question remains. Can PlayStation hold on to its throne, or is another seismic shift just around the corner? If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe.